inside my matrix. The man in the mirror ain't the same one I'm portraying. I lied, said it was you when I was speaking. Heard the voices in my head, ignored the word I got from reading. I admit, I done see my flock and part from ego. Can't blame the devil for my sins when me is who deceiving. Lord, use the excuse I was just human. Lord, using your word and wasn't truthful. Lord, you made me so much more. My constant sin a huge disgrace to the faith you bore. My constant excuses why I couldn't love you, not the world. When I was convicting all them people, it won't out your love. Good Lord.
Peace, peace, peace. What's going on, everybody? Long time no see. Haven't been on in the internet for a long time due to the fact that I have been extremely busy. Can't get 2 days to my name. Some of you don't know, I own a multimedia company here in Richmond, Virginia. We're small, but pretty efficient. We run a full service, everything marketing and multimedia advertisement here. And I've been running that for going on 15 years now. So yeah, I've been really busy handling business, so I don't have time to get on the internet and talk to you guys, or talk at all for that matter. So yeah, I decided, since I had some downtime today, to go ahead and I don't want to promise you guys anything right now as far as scheduling anything, because every time I try to schedule these things, it always turns out to be something totally different. So I apologize. I definitely apologize for not being able to stay on a schedule, which I know is against the YouTube God's rules. But yeah, I'm living life, man. I can't help it. I cannot help it. I'm just living life, man. Like I said, I'm busy, man. I'm a videographer or a cinematographer, a photographer, a graphic designer. I work in marketing and media. So a lot of this stuff that people do on the internet, I help to coordinate and build and structure, as well as design. But you know, when you're the guy where you are, everybody wants you, and then when everybody wants you, you don't have any time for yourself. So it's a problem with being a workaholic and owning your own business, because you don't get days off when you own your own business. So outside of that, came today because I felt the need, because I've been listening for the last since the beginning, since the middle of the pandemic. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, everything from Cameron Samuels to mediocre tutorials and reviews, Fresh and Fit, a lot of stuff in the atmosphere of the Redpill community, specifically the urban, which we'll call it the urban Redpill community, because there are multiple forms of Redpill. You have the MGTOW, men going their own way. You have it's like a couple of other little segments here and there, but they all kind of circulate the same type of energy and the same type of information, and it's an echo chamber at this point. And today I want to talk about that echo chamber that has come up with this new thing called, and it's not new, I shouldn't say new, but it is called Redpill Rage. So it's become such an echo chamber nowadays, that now men of the internet and men on the internet have found their echo chambers, just as women have found their echo chamber for the last, I don't know, 30 30 years, I guess, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I don't know, bro. Today's my birthday. I just turned 35. It's been going on longer than I've been living. So yeah, a lot of this stuff has been going on for a long time, and women have had their echo chambers. They got their books, their movies, their all of their media, and now with the great equalizer known as the internet, and being that YouTube is mostly a male space, even though it's owned by a female, it's still a male space. We still have to understand that. We still have to understand that the echo chambers that are created on YouTube are pretty dangerous if you go down the rabbit hole far enough, with the understanding of being hyper emotional about what it is that you're listening to. So you can listen to these guys and agree with some of the points, but if you allow the talking points to influence you in a way that is deconstructive to you moving forward, then you are really giving yourself a disservice as you move through life. Because how we think is, and I'm a Christian, I am a Christian, and part of the way that we live our lives is through what we think, and changing our minds to the direction of positivity, not only positivity, but to righteousness. I would say in the colloquialisms that we use in the church, moving towards righteousness, the thought process that is being touted on the internet is not conducive to anyone providing themselves with a good well-being overall. One of the big key inferences on the internet is men and money, whether that be the women on the internet telling men that they have to make a certain amount of money in order for them to be appreciated, even though we know the normal person on the street makes about, I guess, 40 to 50,000 a year. That's what the statistic says. But everybody is not a millionaire, and everybody is not a thousandaire. Everybody is not 100,000aire. No, one of the things that they say is a lot of the women are chasing the same men, which I can see that. I can see why. I can see why they say that, especially when you have such an internet-driven society right now. People see the internet as their book of truth, and because people see the internet as a book of truth, they allow themselves to move through the world with these rose-colored glasses, not knowing that the steak on their plate is actually data. Cipher, you would say, from the Matrix, which is funny because we're talking about the red pill and the blue pill community. But because people are driven and so endowed in internet culture, it has become a great influencer of the culture, as well as how people interact in the actual physical world. Much of what we see on the internet is only a mere representation of, or I should say, a caricature of what actually goes on in the real world. It's kind of like reality TV at its finest, because a lot of these things that people say on the internet, believe it or not, it's formatted. Everybody has their formats on their shows. They got their formats on their shows. They have the things that they say, the merchandise. It's all to sell ad revenue, as well as to sell merchandise, as well as to sell personal brands. It's all marketing. That's all it is. That's why we have an algorithm on YouTube. It's all about marketing. And until we realize that this is a big commercial for selling these products, we'll always be stuck in a rut when it comes to personal relationships. The reason why most of these people become big and they end up doing their political campaigns, you should say, or I should say commercial campaigns, to bring people to their products. This is not really to help you. This is in a nutshell, a lot of this is not really to help you in a way that benefits you in the long run. And I know I'm being a little long-winded, and I can do whatever I want to. If you want to listen, you can listen. But most of these people are using the same playbook as the women were used. They use emotional topics that men really truly care about, and bring women on board. And this is almost every single one of the top shows. You will see the same exact formula. Bring attractive women. They don't even have to be 10s. They could be whatever you want to grade them. They just have to be slightly attractive women. Bring them onto your show. Talk to them on camera about men's topics. Sell the merchandise. Sell the Patreon. Sell the ad revenue so that the algorithm is fed. Sell their merchandise. And as you buy into this echo chamber, now you're not only seeing the world through the lens of a consumer, you're also feeding into that and not really making a dent in the real root causes of what is going on as it comes to relationships and interpersonal relationships in America. And that's, well, I shouldn't say America, it's Western society. Western society is highly toxic and highly poisonous to every culture, because I've seen so many other cultures go down the drain once they start to consume what it is that is produced here in Western society. And it doesn't matter if you're in the UK, if you're in America, or you're in any other colonialized society. It happens in India. It's happening in India. It's happening in it's also happening in South Africa and in Africa. A lot of these this is why in the what we call the West, what we call the Middle East, and those cultures, they denounce Western culture to its core. And we know they have their issues too, but at the same time, they've been able to keep their structure going a lot longer than we have, even though their infrastructure is poor due to them being highly war torn, which a lot of people, they don't want to talk about that portion of it. A lot of men, when they talk about this stuff, they want to say that, and I'm gonna do the this is unlisted. Let me make this public. Done. Save. So I apologize for that. But a lot of people, when they have these, they talk about Middle Eastern countries and how they've kept their infrastructure of men on top and the women as submissive. They don't like to talk about the fact that these countries are also war torn, and they don't like to talk about the fact that these countries are sometimes, most of the time, ran by dictatorships. They're ran by dictatorships. They're ran by They're not just they're third world countries. So it's not like we're saying the only thing that we have to say good about them is the fact that they have a social structure that is conducive for keeping the hierarchy together. We can talk about you know keeping men vying for younger women, but then when we talk about these other countries, we're not talking about like the the teen brides, the child brides that are in these countries. We don't, and I know the conversation is bigger than that, but we have to keep in mind when we're bringing the topic of other countries into our conversations, we need to worry about the fact that there are other key variables there that are also important in that conversation. We can't just, oh yeah, over in the Middle East, they have multiple wives, and they have their wives, and their wives are submissive, and blah blah blah. We can't think about it like that because that's their country, that's their culture. We have our own culture, we have our own country. So we need to talk about the ills that are going on in our country and what's going on here at home. You can't talk about everybody else's house because the grass is not greener on the other side. I'm sorry. It's not greener on the other side. And one of the things that I do like to tell people, and I will always tout, is I got the opportunity through being in the military and going to Operation Iraqi Freedom, going through war-torn countries and seeing these war-torn countries. I got the ability to see how these people actually live. Most of these people who talk about these countries, they've never been to these countries. They've never talked to the people. They've never been in their house. They've never been there. We like to talk about how we are happier here in America. We're miserable. We are miserable here in America. Yes, we have higher standards of living to where we have high opulence. Look at my office. You can just see in my background that I have a lot of stuff. Yeah, it goes to my business, but we have a lot of stuff. And it does not make any of us happier. It doesn't make us any more enriched in our lives. It doesn't. It doesn't. It does not. Doesn't make us any more better than anybody else. And this is the arrogance. This is the arrogance. And this is why I'm going into the situation with this red pill stuff. Specifically the Fresh and Fit podcast on this episode. Because I was listening, very adamantly listening to the conversation. And there were a lot of key things that were said that were totally disagreeable, especially coming from the men, one of the hosts of the show. It wasn't good, my guy. It wasn't good. And I can see the mentality of some of these females that they bring onto the show. They're very young. A lot of times they're very young. I don't know what their vetting process is. But these are not women who I would say this. They would never bring any women onto this show that had a understanding of human nature or human culture that oppose what they're saying. I'm going to say it again. A lot of these women that they bring on the show, they don't understand the topics to which you're bringing up on a level that can match the host. It's kind of like, I don't know, CNN putting on the crazy conservative on the Talking Head show. They put the crazy conservative on there that's just so far to the right that, you can't believe anything they said. All to make all people who are conservative look crazy. to their key demographic. And these are the games that they play in media. This is all media. This is how the media operates. This is how advertising operates. And I know because I'm in advertisement. I know that. I'm in advertisement. I know this. I went to school for marketing. This is what they do. And in the Christian sense, this is the lie of the devil. This is the trick of the devil. He'll sell you to your feelings and have you sinning out of your mind. This is what the trick of the devil. It's not to help you. It's not to prosper you. It's never been to prosper you. Never been to prosper you. Not as a whole human being. Because at the end of the day, when we really think about what people are fighting for, they're not fighting for anything other than to be treated like human beings. That's it. Just treat me like a human being. That's it. Treat me like a human being. Like I have thoughts. I have feelings. I have emotions. I have my own personal biases. I have my own personal things. And this is what gets lost in the translation, especially when it comes to relationships. We look at each other as if we're supposed to be the same. You're supposed to, if you're with me, then you should be thinking like me, and you should be thinking as I think, and that's not how it works. That's not how you build a relationship. And I want to get in, and the first thing I do want to talk about is and I don't know if they have it time coded here. But there was a conversation that was had as it pertained to I don't know if I can find it, but they were talking about unconditional love. And when they were talking about the unconditional love, it was kind of crazy to me that they brought up unconditional love. And then in the conversation of talking about unconditional love, they literally misdefined what unconditional love was. But this is an issue that we're having today because people think that love is something that it's not. I even hear Kevin Samuels talk about love, and love is not a part of marriage. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. If I don't love you and this is just a business transaction, then what are we doing this for? Why get married? If I want a business partner, I'll go into business and get a female partner, and we can do it that way. I don't have to live with you. I don't have to endure your suffering, be there to hold your... I don't have to do any of that if marriage is just a business transaction. Because it's not. Even in the Christian sense, because I've heard a pastor say on TikTok, woman is never told to love her husband, but then when you go into in the Bible, it tells the women that they should be taught to love their husbands and how to love their husbands. So what are we talking about here? A lot of this stuff is mismanaged emotions and mismanaged information. That's what most of this stuff is. Mismanaged emotions and mismanaged information. And you'll hear it. We'll go to it. Because, like I said, and like what this is really about, this is us talking about, like I said, red pill rage. and how a lot of times these personalities on the internet um try to make the narrative into something that it actually isn't. So let's go into this first time code. Men need to learn how to control their emotions. This is one of the ones that I really wanted to talk about. So let's talk. Let's do this.
I'm so confused because as in like men are not allowed to have emotions. Like I'm
Fair use. Fair use. Fair use. It's buffering. I apologize for that. I don't know why. YouTube gonna tell me though. Ha. They said find out
No,
why.
Wait, that's not what
you're
he
you're
said.
what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to control them. That's the biggest difference between men and women. We are deductive problem solvers. We tend to look at the world from a more rational standpoint, okay, on a balance of probabilities. Our brains are very different. But men, we're taught from a young age, you need to control your emotions, okay?
well, I don't.
For women, it's okay. If you want to cry, whatever, it's socially acceptable for women to not control their emotions, but it is not socially
Crying
acceptable.
is controlling your emotions. Crying is a very healthy
In an
emotion, and not
argument,
crying is not controlling them well.
whoever
It's not
cries
healthy.
Okay, I mean,
Like, I get what
You're
you're
right.
saying, but
Whoever
not holding
shows
it in
the
is not
most-
controlling your
whoever's
emotions.
the
no,
most
actually,
emotional
I respectfully disagree. I think
loses.
That's fine.
I feel not even I feel I know that if you feel like you want to cry, and you're able to say, nope, I'm not going to do it. That is
Right, that's important.
restraint to
That's
another
right.
level, and
That's
that is
important.
by default controlling your emotions. You feel and want to cry, but as a man, you're not
Right.
doing it. Because here's the thing.
But knowing when to cry is
Men-
important. You should cry behind closed doors like once a
Well, I
year.
was
You know
gonna
what
get
I
to that. I
mean?
was gonna
Like,
get to
crying
that.
is important.
That's the point I'm trying to make. If a man, I'm not saying men shouldn't cry or any of that other stuff, but what I am saying is that as a leader, you need to lead by example. If
Yeah.
you're crying in front of your girl and your children, that's a problem.
Yeah, it is.
Because you're
Mm.
supposed to be looked at as the stable rock of the family.
Yeah,
Now,
but I
ladies,
think
you can argue with me all you want, but you know what? I'm just going to tell the truth. Women typically don't know what they're aroused by and what they're attracted to. And there was a study that should prove this.
And I'm gonna stop right there. I want to stop right there before he gets to the study, because I want to find out what this study is that he's talking about, because he never prefaced what study. He just said there is a study, and to me that's alarming when you can't cite what study or where the study came from. I We get on women all of the time on these shows about talking about these studies that come up, right? They talk about these studies and they may just pull it out of their hindparts about what study it is. And don't tell me there is a study, but you can't tell me where the study is coming from, or you can't cite it. And don't tell me in this age where I just saw their studio, we can see their studio, so they have multiple screens in their studio, as far as how they're set up to include that Personas mixer that they have in there, and they're running. I think it's the live stream. I know this stuff. This is why I'm telling you. I know what I'm talking about. I know what people got in their studios when I see it, because I work with this stuff all day long. But however, that's past the point. You're not gonna tell me that you can't get your producer to pull up the study if you're gonna just pull it out of your butt. But then you'll get on these women about doing the same exact thing. You can't have it both ways. I don't care if it's your podcast or not. If you're gonna disseminate information, at least give the audience the information and cite the information for the audience so that we can decipher the information. Because a lot of these studies, we need to do more studying on the studies. We don't know what the control groups were. We don't know any of that stuff. We don't know the age range of the people. We don't know what region they came from, what culture they came from. We just know that he just said there's a study where this, that, and the third. And I know I went off topic of what I was going to say before, but I'm going to go back to that, where he's talking about not crying in front of your family because it shows a weakness. See, this is the issue that I have with these type of men who think like this. It's a difference between you wanting to value the conservative structure of the family, right? The conservative structure of the family, preserving that. There's a difference between preserving that and what he's talking about right now. Because one of the things that he's not talking about is the reason why men have committed suicide in their families, when men in the older age who lived by that understanding committed suicide at a high rate. See, I've been through war. And I've seen broken men and have been broken by war myself. So I understand what it's like to be broken in a certain kind of way, especially as a man. Especially as a man. So when you tell me that you want to create an environment that you're telling your sons that it's not okay to ever show your emotions, to which I even have to check myself I have to check myself because I've done that to my sons. To the point where you have children who are men who are emotionally damaged and they can't talk about it to anybody in their families. They can't talk to their sons about it so that they understand that this is a part of life. You're so stoic, you can't even express your emotions in your family. You're handling the situation wrong. I'm going to say it again. You're handling the situation of how you're providing for your family wrong. I've done that. I know I have done that. Ruining my marriage due to the fact that I wanted to be the stoic hero of my family. I've done that. Other marital issues, yes, there. But see, this is the issue. We have these men wanting to be beholden to these old, antiquated understandings of the world that did not even work for the people who are doing them. It's a reason why your granddad didn't cry, but you are not talking about that. It had nothing to do with bottling up your emotions. You know, when your granddad didn't cry and then he had to go out drinking and he ended up on drugs, or he ended up being an alcoholic, or he ended up being abusive to his family, that's where that comes from. And it's happened multiple times. Abuse to the children, abuse to the women in the family. Leaving the home and not being... Most of the issues that men deal with is because they have mismanaged information and mismanaged emotions. I'm a result of that. The entire world hates men, and they don't like to talk about the fact that the world, I shouldn't say the world, Western society hates men. Men can never talk about their emotions. But see, women don't want to hear about men's emotions because men taught them, and this is something we don't talk about, men taught them that I'm not going to talk to you about my emotions because it's going to seem like I'm weak. PTSD is exacerbated by men who were by your granddad who had to go into his room and lock himself in because he couldn't talk to nobody about what was going on with him because he felt like nobody would understand. See, we don't talk about that part of it. Mental health is very important to men, especially in this day and age where we have so many people who want to stick to these antiquated notions that men should not be expressing themselves emotionally. To the point where if a man does express himself emotionally, nobody knows what to do. This is why you get, and this is the part he doesn't explain. Most women don't know how to handle men's emotions. They've never been around men to be able to handle men's emotions, to talk to men about their emotions. I have a lot of female friends. A lot. Plutonic female friends. Friend-zoned female friends. I have them. I can talk to them about my emotions. I can talk to them about how I feel. I can try to get some kind of understanding from a female's perspective. I can also talk to the men that I'm connected to about my feelings and my emotions and get a man's perspective on it. But see, this is why this whole gender war is screwed up. Because we have people who are one track in their tunnel vision and they don't understand there's two sides to the story. Actually, three. But there's two sides to the story. And in order to get the truth out of anything, you got to see both sides of the fence. You got to understand both sides. This is where true logic and true knowledge and wisdom come from. One of the things that my pastor teaches me is that once you get the knowledge, the wisdom comes when that knowledge is applied into your everyday life. Most of this stuff that they talk about, once it's applied in your everyday life, you're going to see a deterioration in your well-being. Go ahead, man. I want you to continue to deteriorate mentally because you feel like you can't talk to anybody. You can't talk to your family about what's going on with you, and that's an issue. That's why you feel alone. It doesn't matter if you can explain it to them where they understand. It's about getting it out. It's about getting it out. Shout out to Mental Heal. Shout out to James Harris with Mental Heal. Mental Heal. Friend of mine. We went to school together. It's all Men to Heal. Shout out to him. Talking about male emotions and handling male emotions in the mental health portion of this. Because what he's talking about is going to lead you to ruins. I don't care. I don't care what he says. This is going to lead you to ruins. When you cannot express yourself, there's a difference between being able to express yourself in a manner that is not hyper emotional and being able to emit emotion in front of your family. Your family should not just get to see you happy. Because if we go down that train of thought of your family shouldn't see any type of emotion from you, they shouldn't see you happy, they shouldn't see nothing out of you. You should just be stonewalling at all times. Nigga, you mad at breakfast? Being the rock of the family does not mean being hard. Being the rock of the family means you are the foundation upon which they put everything else upon. See, they don't even know where that came from, being the rock. See, that came from us. Read your Bible. That came from us. You shall build your do not a man. You shouldn't build your house upon sand, but upon the rock. And because men are supposed to be the men are supposed to be the men are supposed to be what Jesus is to their families and to their wives. We're supposed to be the sight of what God looks like in our families. We also are supposed to be the rock. But that has nothing to do with hiding your emotions. Hide your emotions. I guarantee your kid's not going to want to talk to you about theirs. Your kid's not going to want to talk to you about their emotions or anything else going on with you, because they're not going to be able to identify emotion coming from you. So how you going to run a family that way? You running families like that now? You going to run a family like that? Is that how we run in a family? Your wife can't confide in you because you're the rock. Yeah, go ahead, just cry. But you're allowing, because you can't really emote emotion with her, how is she supposed to connect with you? So you mean to tell me if you're married and your wife dies, at no point in time you're not supposed to emote any kind of emotion? You're supposed to just hold that in. Your mother dies. The children's grandmother dies. You mean to tell me you're not supposed to emote any emotion? See, this is not logical. This is not logical in the natural sense. We're not talking about statistics in the mathematical and scientific sense. We're talking about real life and logic based off real life. See, a lot of these people, they like to hide behind these mathematical equations and science and all of this stuff. They like to hide behind that as a mask to avoid what is the root cause and real root issues. The reason why you think you can't cry in front of the person that you're with, or you can't emote any other emotion other than anger, other than happiness, the only reason why you think that is because society told you so. And we're going to get into that if we get to that point in this video, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. I'm going off the cuff today. I apologize. You know I'm usually on it. I'm going off the cuff today. And I implore you, go watch this and see what I'm talking about. I'm not lying to you. This man is telling you, men who are watching and women who are watching, that it's wrong for a man to emote emotion in front of his family, because that shows a weakness. No, it does not show a weakness. It shows a strength that you're able to, in your most vulnerable position, to be able to confide in them. That can actually strengthen your connection with people. And if you can't strengthen your connection with people through emotion or emoting some type of emotion, you shouldn't be around them people. This is why you're supposed to vet these women. You ain't supposed to just be knocking down everything. And I find it funny because if you're watching the beginning of this, he's talking about men not being able to control their sexual nature, but he says men can't control their sexual nature, but in this aspect, he wants them to be able to control their emotions. What? If you're going to say self-control, do it across the board. Men should be self-controlled. This is why we as Christians, when we read our book, especially Christian men, it talks about us being self-controlled. Christians are supposed to be self-controlled. It don't matter if you're man or you're woman. You're supposed to control yourself, control your nature. So it's not just men who are supposed to control their emotions. Women are to control their emotions too. But it's not controlling your emotions to the point where it becomes toxic to your well-being and mental health. It's about not going off the deep end when you have an emotional period. You don't go murdering your brother because you're mad because he got a birthright. You get what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with being upset out in public. It's about controlling that. You have a right to be upset. You have the right to be sad. You have a right to emote whatever emotion you want. You have a right to. As a human being, that's a human right. Freedom of speech, that's God-given. So when you take that away from us merely because we have a separate genitalia, bro, you're going off the deep end. Now you're not even seeing men as human beings. And this is what I'm talking about. We're not fighting. We're fighting to be seen as human beings. That's what everybody is fighting for. To be seen as a human being. But this antiquated notion that men are supposed to be subjecting themselves to toxic behaviors. And I hate I don't even like to use the word toxic masculinity because I think it's absurd. But in this case, this is toxic masculinity. It is. Telling a man that he can't be able to emote any kind of emotion or in public merely because he's a man. Because that takes away from his manhood. Being a man has nothing to do with your emotional state in that aspect. Stoicism, or the stoicism that they're talking about comes from warriors. And guess what? You're talking to one right now. I've been in war. Been bombed and shot at. Seen men break at the bursting flaming heat from an IED explosion. Seen men break at the buckling of walls when an explosion goes off. I seen that. Been through it. I got the t-shirt. Friends done died. Comrades have died. So you're going to tell me, and this is something that I want everybody to think about. Would he say this to DMX? DMX in his prime. I'm talking about DMX that would pray for everybody at every concert and cry in front of everybody, including the crowd. That DMX. Would he say that to DMX? Would he? Is this something that he would say about DMX? DMX was soft because he cried? He cried in front of millions. See, it's okay to laugh at men, especially, and the funny thing is he got Tyrese on here. The entire internet laughed at Tyrese for what he was going through because he put it on the internet. However, I would not have put it on the internet. However, they laughed at this man's mental breakdown. See, this is the thing that we're supposed to be changing. We're not supposed to be reverting to men being stoic in a toxic manner. We're supposed to be fighting for men to be able to be still looked at that as that man, even though they show emotion and are able to allow themselves to let their emotions out. I'm not talking about being a pansy, bro. There's a difference between being a pansy and crying every time something gets hard, and crying because something has emotionally rocked you. The loss of a loved one is something that a man should be able to cry publicly about. the love of seeing children grow up, a man should be able to cry in happiness about. The stresses of the stresses that have brought you down to your knees in life should be something you should emote emotion about. I don't care who it's in front of. Because one thing we have to learn, especially as men, is the understanding is, bro, I don't care what y'all think. I'm going to be me regardless if you think I'm a man or not. I'm going to be me. And you ain't going to tell me no different because I'm a man. And I'm going to be a man regardless if I cry, if I'm mad, if I'm happy. It don't matter. I'm still a man. I still got nuts in my pants. But again, this is the thing that we're going through right now where we have men just like this. Men just like this who see what other men have gone through and the way that they handled it as the right way to go, instead of actually using logic and saying, hey, if I bottle in my, if every time I feel some type of way and I bottle in my emotion, what happens? Let's do a science experiment. If I don't tell anybody about what's going on with me, or I just tell my boys, or I don't tell the person that's close to me about what's going on with me, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Let's see how your relationship goes then. Let's see how your relationship prospers then. Yes, there is a sense of duty, especially in marriage, and I like to talk about marriage because a lot of these people are talking about situations where you're just shacking up with somebody. That's the difference between marriage and shacking up. It's a difference. When you're shacking up, you can leave wherever you want to. When you're married, it's a process to get out of that. You're really ripping things apart. Especially when you built something with somebody, and it don't even matter how long. When you built something with somebody, and now you're ripping that apart. Men have committed suicide. Due to divorce. Because they couldn't tell nobody. And everybody that they talked to, they didn't care. They said it's just, you could have it worse. You could have it worse, buddy. That's dismissive of what this person is really going on with. This is a psychopathic mindset to where you can't identify with another human being. This is the level of disinterest that we have across the board on the internet. Nobody really is listening to anybody, and nobody really cares about what anybody is saying, and that's bleeding into society. That's the issue. This is bleeding into society, where people don't care about how you feel. They don't care about your feel. Facts don't care about your feelings, bro. My wife just died. That's a fact. I'm going through depression because I just lost the woman that I love. That's a fact. We have to stop being dismissive to people in their human. And we like to talk about human nature when it comes. I enjoy the fact that we like to talk about human nature when it comes to talking about, human nature tells us that men are to dominate women, blah, 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 blah. We like to talk about human nature in that aspect, but we don't like to talk about human nature in any other aspect. If we're going to talk about human nature, let's say that it is human nature to feel emotions, because that's what changes, because even elephants have feelings, bro. Even nature allows us to have emotions, bro. Elephants emote emotions. Dolphins emote emotions. We emote emotions. Male and female. If there's a elephant dies, the whole herd will have a funeral procession. cry together, weep together. They will do that. This is nature. These are animals. So if you're telling me that animals are able to emote emotion and I'm supposed to be stoic because I'm a human man, you're out of your mind. Nobody who came up with this stuff. Who came up with this stuff? Because this is not human nature. If we really want to talk about human nature, let's talk about it. Human nature gave us emotions. So fight human nature then, but not fight human nature when it comes to the sexual nature. That doesn't make any sense. That's not logical. That's not logical. And I'm not talking about intense emotions, allowing intense emotion to make us make rash and irrational judgments. When you were talking about controlling your emotions, we're talking about not making irrational decisions based off of those emotions. Not saying you can't have emotions, not saying that you can't show emotions. It's about not making decisions based off of those emotions. Again, you're stressed out and depressed because you have postpartum depression and now you're putting your baby in a microwave. That doesn't make any sense. That's irrational. You did not control your emotions. Controlling your emotion has to do with being rational versus being irrational. That's what it has to do. It has nothing to do with what he's talking about. So, and I know I've been talking for a good long time, but let's continue. Hold up. Gotta go back because I done messed up. It's all good. It's all good. It's been a long
Irony,
time.
that other stuff. But what I am saying is that as a leader, you need to lead by example.
Yeah.
If you're crying in front of your girl and your children, that's a problem.
Yeah, it is.
Because you're supposed to be looked at as the stable rock of the family.
Yeah,
Now, ladies, you can argue with me all you want, but you know what? I'm just going to tell the truth. Women typically don't know what they're aroused by and what they're attracted to. And there was a study that should prove this, okay? They took women, heterosexual women, and they took heterosexual men, and they took lesbians as well. And what they did was they showed the women erotic images, and they showed the men erotic images. The men responded, and what they did was they gave them like a finger pointer, and they attached like electrodes to their genitals, right? The men responded favorably. Are you guys paying attention?
Yes.
So you guys like reading the...
I'm taking notes.
Okay,
I was
so the men responded favorably, and I'll share the studies with you after the show.
Thank you.
The men responded favorably, right, to the women having sex and the heterosexual sex, right? In other words, what men are attracted to, what they clicked on and what they were stimulated by matched. The women, however, only clicked on things that were politically correct, but their electrodes on their genitals showed otherwise. They were turned on by the monkeys banging, the gay sex, everything, okay? So for women, it was more the fact that there was sex happening to some degree or stimulating images shown to them versus who was doing it. But for the men, it was more put on who was conducting the sexual acts, because men are very visual and women tend to be more emotional. So the point is this. You guys can sit here and tell me it's okay for men to be emotional and they should be able to open.
See, this is the issue. So I don't know if you heard it. I don't know if you heard it, but I heard it. He used this study to say that talks about sexual arousal. This is what this study is about. He's talking about a study of sexual arousal. And then he jumps to say that this had something to do with men being emotional and women being emotional and men being visual. And then he jumps further in the logic to say this has something to do with men emoting emotion. This is why I'm saying these studies and statistics are being used irrationally. He jumped the gun logically to make things correlate that had nothing to do with each other. And I would love to see this study. Because I'm willing to bet this study has nothing to do with what he's talking about right now. And this is why I have an issue with these types of shows, with these type of men hosting them. Because they stand on this information, and it's disinformation. It's disinformation. It's disinformation. It's disinformation. He's totally using this study in the incorrect manner to which what it proved. Every study does not correlate to the same conclusion in every single situation. These studies have to be done in a very specific manner. There's a hypothesis that is created. And from that hypothesis, then they do the study. This is how we do data analytics. This is how they create algorithms. So you mean to tell me that this has something to do with male emotions? They were watching videos of different things, and this has to do whether... I don't get it. Nothing in what he just said had anything to do with anything. It's a bunch of word garbage to make himself seem as an intellectual, for one, because that's a lot of times when these guys, they use these statistics, they want to seem as if they're intellectuals. And then they use the same statistics over and over and over again that they heard from one podcast, and then this becomes a talking point. So you're going to hear multiple talking points when you hear this. We're going to hear about the marriage rate, divorce rate being 50% or whatever they want to say it is. And I looked it up, and in 2020, it's not at what they said it is. And from the CDC study, they only did the study in Washington, D.C. It's not across the board in America. And then the study that they are citing hasn't even been updated. A lot of times they don't even use updated information. So you see how they're misleading you by not using the correct information, by using false information. Can you see that? Let's continue though. So I don't have too much longer to go.
Open up to you, blah, blah, blah. The reality is, women don't know what they're attracted to or what they're aroused by. It's politically correct to say, I'm going to be there for my man and everything else like that. But my argument is
and that's another thing. He said women don't know what they're aroused by. Okay. Do men really know what they're aroused by? Because from what I know, it ain't always just what we think it is. It could be whatever. But you got to know yourself to know what you're aroused by. And that's individualized. That's why we got all these people with these different kinks. They're aroused by different things. See, this is so surface level. This is surface. What he's talking is so surface. The conversation has not gotten any deeper than the surface level of what he's talking about. It's very surface. This is a basic conversation. But to these women, it may seem like he's intellectual and he's understanding of the full veracity of the conversation, but at the end of the day, he doesn't. At least if he does, he's not articulating it properly. And I think he really needs to think about how he's articulating this information. Because they may see the study, but they might not be able to correlate the fact due to the conversation and being so fast paced. They might not be able to understand that, this conversation that they're having right now, as far as it comes to this study, after they see the study, is not correlating to what he said after that. And you'll see these jumps in logic multiple times as he's having this conversation with these women. And these women sometimes do it a lot. And that's why a lot of men, when they watch the shows, they be like, man, these ladies don't know what they're talking about, this, that, and the third. And it's because we have not, as human beings, especially in Western society, even really thought about this stuff. These are conversations that need to be had continuously. But we're so stuck on our phones, we're listening to everybody else have the conversations. We haven't had the conversations for ourselves.
Will lose attraction and arousal for him to some degree, whether it's a little bit, a lot, or you're not even aware of it. Women love very differently and they're aroused very differently. And emotional stimulation is one of them. Crying in front of your girl is a bad bet for any heterosexual man that's in a long-term relationship with a woman.
I call BS. I call BS. And I'm going to tell you why I call BS. Because I just watched a horrible show that was done in the UK about, and some woman was like, women should worship the ground. No, men should worship the ground women walk on. That was what she was saying. But then in the same token, they were saying that men are emotionally unavailable. But see, this is the root. See, this is what he's talking about. Has nothing to do with women losing interest in a man simply because he emoting emotion. This has to do with the societal issue that women don't know how to deal with men's issues. They don't know how to deal with men's emotion. I'm willing to bet you can ask any one of these women on here, have they ever had to deal with a man's emotions? And they're probably going to say no. Have the men that they talk to been emotionally unavailable? They're probably going to say no. This is why women are supposed to be trained on how to love their husbands. They're supposed to be trained on how to love their husbands. This is supposed to be something that's passed down from woman to woman, from elder to youngling. This is something that's missing in our society because, again, feminism has destroyed the family structure. I'm not even going to say just feminism. Just Western ideals of what freedom looks like has deteriorated the family infrastructure and everything dealing with family. They call it progress, but we've actually regressed. We've regressed to where now the women don't even want to emote their emotions in a healthy manner. They want to be like the men. They want to be stoic like the men. So now you got two people in a relationship that don't know how to express their emotions in a healthy manner. And you think that's supposed to work? See, the root of this issue has nothing to do with what he's talking about. It's about men not being able to emote emotions in a public space and be safe in doing that. Again, the only time that when I really got over my PTSD and the emotions that came with the PTSD, it wasn't medication. It was not medication. It was through therapy, self-reflection, being able to emote my emotions when I needed to, and not caring about who was around. I don't care. Because guess what? The people who want to be around you will be around you. The people who care about you will care about you regardless. This is what the vetting system is for. Am I saying that when you meet somebody, you're supposed to just automatically just start breaking down and crying? Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you're in an intimate relationship with someone and they do not know how to operate when you're being intimate with them, especially when it comes to your emotions, they are the wrong person for you. And it's going to be a lopsided relationship to which, if she's able to emote her emotions, you're going to resent her because you're not able to do that with her. Because it's human nature to want to communicate. This is how we separated ourselves from the rest of the animals and civilized and civilized the whole of the earth. We were able to create communities. We were able to communicate with one another. On a level to which no animal on the entire planet has ever been able to get to. But see, we don't talk about this stuff. This is the stuff that doesn't get injected into these conversations. That's too surface. And most of the conversations, a lot of the conversations that I've heard on these podcasts are very surface. They're basic. They don't even touch the tip of the iceberg. The iceberg is so much way deeper than that. And again, let's use that surface or basic thought, because these dudes is basic. And if their thought process is that basic, but you're out of your mind. I just go, and I don't support strippers. I've been to strip clubs. I don't really like strip clubs. They're not my thing. And they had a conversation about strip clubs or whatever. They've never been my thing. Been to strip parties. All of that stuff. I have. It's just my life. I was in the military at a young age. I went in as soon as I graduated high school. That's my life that I led, But they were like, I don't support strippers, blah, 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 blah. I don't down any woman for involving herself in a trade that has existed for forever. The sex trade is not new. I bet you they talk down about strippers, but they won't talk down about bottle girls. What about bottle girls? Instagram models. Not just OnlyFans. It's not just OnlyFans. All of this stuff is the objectification of women. But women put themselves in these positions to objectify themselves. They put themselves in these positions to be objectified. Because here in Western society, they don't want to be, they really don't want to be covered. They don't want to have the covering of a man. They want to have freedom from a man and get everything handed to them by a man. They want their dad. A lot of these women want their dad. And when you really run the gambit of what it is that they're asking for, they want their dad. They want a father. They don't want a husband. They want a father. Their father was supposed to teach them how to be wives to a man. That's what they were supposed to do. But they didn't do that. They taught them how to be daughters. At some point, a daughter has to be trained to be a woman. To be the wife of a man. Of a man. One man. This is why two-parent households are so important. Two-parent households are very, very important due to this fact. So let's keep going. And I don't know what this guy, I don't really know what his family structure is, but it doesn't seem like he's really understanding of I think he has a ideal of what Western society the direction of Western society, but that's going backwards. It's not going forward. It's not progression. It's not being progressive at all. And a lot of these people who claim to be wanting to be conservative, they're not ready for those conservative roles, because those conservative roles come with the ills of being conservative in that time frame. We have to remember, this is not the day and age of my grandfather and grandmother, nor your mother and your father. So we have to get that through our heads. This is not the same day and age as it once was. The rules have changed multiple times. The rules have changed multiple times. A lot of the bad behaviors have been incentivized over the decades.
It is what it is. You guys don't have to like what I'm saying, but it's the truth. And there's studies to show
True.
women don't even know what they're aroused by and what they like.
True.
Can I say
He said the studies will show, but he only talked about one.
that the last boyfriend I had, he cried in front of me, and I don't think I consciously noticed, but after that, I thought he was a bitch.
It made you lose respect for him. And the thing is this, women love very differently. Respect is a requirement for a woman to love you first. Respect has to come first. And quite frankly, a woman's ability to respect you is very contingent upon your ability to lead.
Emoting emotion has nothing to do with leadership. It doesn't. It really doesn't. It doesn't. It has nothing to do with leadership. If we look at the tenets of leadership, emotion is not even a portion of that. Emotion has nothing to do with that. I run a business. I run a business, which is my own business that I own solely. And I have team members in my business. And whether I emote emotion or not has nothing to do with whether they're going to follow me or not. It has to see if you have a clear vision and they can follow that clear vision and they agree with that clear vision. That's what leadership is about. Is having a clear vision to the finish line of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and then they will follow it. Come on, man. This is why you can buy a woman and she never value you. Because she's never going to be on board with what your mission is. But if you don't even know what your mission is, nobody's going to follow it. It has nothing to do with the emotional. You can create emotion you can create an emotional dynamic between people in a leadership role. What? Your emotional status has nothing to do with your leadership role, unless you're not able to, unless you act irrational and not control your emotion when it's time to control your emotion. If you're acting irrational, people are going to look at you like you're not rational. And they're not going to follow in. They're not going to believe in what it is that you said you're going to do when you act irrational like that. So he's leading you in the wrong space when he's talking about this.
And your ability to lead is contingent upon what? I said it earlier, controlling your emotions.
Wait,
Not crying.
No. Again, that has nothing to do with leadership. It's a lot of crazy mofos out here who are high strung and they yell at they crew and they do all of this stuff, but them people still stay. Because they see the vision. They see you prospering. They see you making it. And they want to be a part of that. This is why Albie Shore's father was molested by P. Diddy. Because the power was there. The power is about your ability to be able to make people do what it is you need to do to get a job done. It has nothing to do with your emotional stat, bruh. Nothing to do with it. If that was the case, women wouldn't follow women. They wouldn't have women's groups. You wouldn't have women leaders. What? If that was the case, we wouldn't have women leaders. So can you understand why the logic there is flawed? Because in the real world, we have women leaders. We have women CEOs. They're not a lot of them, but they're here. And it has nothing to really do with the emotional status. It has to do with strategy. It has to do with vision. That's what leadership is about. Because you just said women are emotional creatures. So if we use that logic of women are emotional creatures, and then we sitting up here looking at a bunch of to include YouTube CEO is a woman with a very successful rate in this business, to which they've cornered the market, to which nobody else can get into. What? Are you serious? Are we really serious right now? Are we really going to look at it like this? Come on, man. We got to stop playing with this information and look at it. We have to have a more balanced view on this. We have to have a more balanced view on this. Just because somebody has or shows emotion has nothing to do with their ability or capability to lead. It's about when those things create issues where they're making bad decisions. And this is one of the reasons why we talk about women who have sex with multiple men and they do it out of an emotional standpoint, because they're making bad decisions, and those bad decisions are made off their emotions. This is why we have that conversation, because you're not doing it because it's the logical thing to do or the right thing to do. You're doing it because it feels good. Yeah, I'm just going to invest in Starbucks today. It just feels good. Yeah, I'm about to go buy a Ferrari, put my house up on, because it's going to feel good to be able to drive a Ferrari around the town. I just punched my wife in the face because I was angry. That's the controlling your emotions. Not that other stuff that he talking about. That's for the birds, bro. That's for the birds. And I told you, this junk is surface. His thought process is basic. And being around a man like me, or the men that I'm around, bro would not survive. He would be mad at us all day long. Either he would be mad or he'll have to elevate. It's one of the two. Either he would be mad or he would have to elevate. But let's stop playing these games, man. And I'm not red pill and I'm not blue pill. I'm neither one. I'm God pill. How about that? I'm looking at it from a human being perspective. If it's not right for one, it's not right for the other, regardless of your genitalia. This is why I love the scripture. There will be no male or female, nor Jew nor Greek. I love that script. I love that scripture, because it shows that this is not about. It's not about whether who you are externally. It's about you internally. And when we start to think about people internally, then we'll start to be able to really see each other for who we are. But we got to get all of the external stuff out of the way. God does not see a man on how a man sees a man. God can see a man from his heart.
Not being a bitch, not being soft.
So you don't think that's a problem in the society? That like men get to like that, like they have to lead, that they can't show their emotions.
Control
They
No,
can't
I'm
cry.
saying I'm not saying that's a problem. I'm saying that's what men need to do. I have a problem with society telling men to be sensitive. That's my problem.
Controlling your emotions has always been a sign of strength, because
And again, this is, I have a problem with them telling men to be sensitive. I have a problem with that. Bruh, calm down, bruh. Chill, nigga. You mad at breakfast? Chill, bro. Chill. It's okay, bro, to relax, bruh. And this whole situation just feels, the more I listen to it, it just feels tense, bro. It just feels like an interrogation. Like, I can see why. I mean, I understand why some of these women want to be on there because they got their Instagram names on Fresh and Fit podcast, which is popping right now. But I mean, other than that, like, chill, bro. Just chill. Like Kevin Samuels in himself, in the way that he operates, I mean, I can agree with how he operates. He just returned fire where it's fire. If you start firing on me, I'm gonna fire on you. Plain and simple. Male, woman, female, dog, cat, mouse, owl, chipmunk. You come up at me with aggressive, I'm coming at you aggressive. That's how he do it. But this man right here, yo, bro, you're aggressive from the jump. Like, why, bro? Do you have to? Is that what makes you feel like a man? That's toxic, bro. If you think you exerting that type of anger on a woman is what makes you feel like a man, you got problems, bro. That unresolved problems that you need to deal with. I already know women are weaker than men, so I'm not gonna come at no woman who's being I'm not gonna come at a woman in this type of setting aggressive if she's not coming at me aggressive. And I can see I know the difference between passion and aggression. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand. There's a difference between passion and a difference between aggression. There's a difference. Your body language will tell you whether somebody's aggressive or not. Again, I've been in war. I've seen these things. I watched men of all different backgrounds and cultures in a situation, in a petri dish situation to which most of us had never been in before. Older, all ages, all ethnicities, all backgrounds. I've seen it. So I understand male nature. I understand men on a different level than what most of these men have ever seen. I understand the animalistic nature of rage. But I also understand the compassion that we can also give one another when we need help. Talking your friend off a ledge takes compassion. I had a friend commit suicide. None of us knew. Because of this crap that he's talking about. He held it in. He didn't tell nobody. He didn't even tell his girl. Just up and shot himself in the head.
That means that whatever's going on outside does not shake you. You're not going to get upset. That's why usually in an argument, or even when you're dealing with the police, whoever is the person who's overly emotional, who's overly upset, that's the person who's losing. That's the person who's losing automatically.
I feel like a lot of people are. I'm not contradicting your statement at all, but I feel like a lot of people confuse controlling their emotions with suppressing their emotions, because it's like, for example, you said if you're crying and you say that, okay, I'm not gonna cry in this moment because I'm around people and I don't want them to feel like I'm weak. So in that moment, you say, oh yeah, I'm controlling my emotions, but in certain situations, depending on what triggered that emotion, I feel like certain people just don't understand that maybe I am suppressing it. Maybe there's a reason why that something triggered me to react that way in that emotion.
The point is, I mean, I get where you're, I mean, we could fight over word usage all day, but the point is that you don't show that.
And he said we can fight over word. It's not word. It's not word usage. It's not word usage. It's not fighting over word. There's a clear thought that was put into what she said, and she said the same exact thing that I said. Emoting emotion and suppressing emotion is different from controlling your emotions. what the young blonde lady with the lashes on said was correct. If you all hype, acting irrational, right? If you're acting irrational, the police gonna haul you off the jail. You're gonna lose, depending on the situation and depending on the officer. But most time, the person who's the most irrational is the one who loses. I know that for a fact. My son mom fought me, and when the police got there, I told them what happened. I was calm as hell. You think they locked me up? No, they took her to jail. Until I said what I said. We both was fighting. It just got to that point. And they took both of us. And then it was no process. But again, I mean, these things happen. Like, these things happen. People, depending on the stress level of a situation, since we want to talk about human nature, fight or flight kicks in. And it doesn't matter what situation is. The fight or flight always kicks in anytime that you have a stressful situation. Some people choose to run away from their emotions. Some people choose to run towards their emotions. That's just the nature of being a human being. But see, we're not talking about being human beings. We're talking about being uh, figures, structures. We're talking about being structures of society. This is what we're talking about here. Ideal structures of society. We're not talking about being human beings. We're talking about being ideal structures. It's ideal for a man to not cry in front of his family or whatever. That's a societal thing that's created. That's a societal structure that was created, which is not conducive, again, to the well-being of the person, of the individual. It's not good for the individual. It's not. It's not. That's why the male suicide rate is so high. And if stoicism and not talking about your emotions and feelings is so good, why is it that in Japan, I think it's Japan, it's either China or Japan, all of the men are killing themselves or becoming hermits and dying inside of their daggone inside of their houses. So is that the direction we want to go with this? Or do we want to prepare each other to understand one another on a human level? See, that's the difference. They want to take away your emotion so that you're emotionless. They want you to not have the ability to express yourself. And one of the girls is going to say, well, you should go to a professional. Everybody doesn't have the means of seeking out help from a professional, miss. I'm sorry. They don't. People get paid to do that. But you know who don't get paid? Your significant other. That if you vet correctly, will be that rock for you as a man. Because while you're holding up the world for your family, they're supposed to be lifting you up. That's how it's supposed to go. That's how it's supposed to go. We support one another. This is why we can't develop clear communities right now. It's because it's so individualized. and we're individual lives in a selfish manner. It's about me, 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 me. And what I want and what I want to do and what the mindset here is not compromising. It's not looking at people on a human level. You're a human being, bro. I can't fault you if you cried in front of me. It's cool, bro. I understand, bro. I understand that junk is hard, bro. I'm not gonna let you sulk in it. That's different. Then you're not controlling your emotions, because now you've been depressed for 6 months and you ain't got over this shit yet. Excuse my language. You haven't got over it yet. I'm still working on that, by the way. You haven't gotten over it yet.
That weakness to people that aren't equipped to handle that weakness.
So
Does
you're
that make
saying
sense?
all women are not equipped to
Well,
handle
that's what
men
I
emotion,
said.
or if you? I feel like I think the problem is that it's not that women can't understand men's emotion. I feel like what people they choose what they want to understand, and I think that's a lot of problem with communication.
Here's the thing, though. Remember,
She nailed it right on the head. I've been saying that this whole time. Right? It ain't got nothing to do with whether most of these women are not equipped to be able to handle male emotion, but at the same time, it's about the individual person that you vetted. They probably can't handle your emotion because they don't care to want to handle your emotion. They don't want to understand your emotion. This is why women tell men they're emotionally unavailable. Because a lot of times men don't care about their women's emotion. They just want to have sex. That's it. They just want to have sex. There are women like that now, but for the most part, men don't. They just want to have sex, go to work. They want to do things.
remember, I'm talking about arousal and maintaining attraction. There's two different things. Attraction and arousal are two different things.
I mean, it is two different things. But I
Okay,
feel like
so I'm
when it
teaching
comes-
guys how to be attractive and arousing at the same time, and not losing that edge.
No, he's not. He's definitely not. And the thing that he's clearly missing out of this whole thing is long term. These are men who want to be married. So you think if I'm getting married at the age, let's just say ideally, I get married at the age of 25. My wife's 25, I'm 25. We get married at the age of 25. And the life expectancy of a man now is like 70 or something like that. I don't know. Whatever. So you think for the next 50 years, I'm supposed to never emote any emotion to my wife? That's logically impossible. And so you're saying now I have to watch over my back for the next 50 years of whether this woman is going to leave me or not, simply because I emoted some type of emotion in front of her? That means both of y'all need therapy, bro. Y'all need to talk. Y'all need to communicate. And if one of y'all is not willing to communicate, then you need to resolve the marriage. That's it. I'm not going to lock myself into some BS form of manhood just because it's the cool thing to do. There's plenty of women out here. Find one that is for you.
Because when you cry in front of a girl, she will lose a.
And again, he said girl. He's not talking about women. He's talking about girls. When you cry in front of a girl, this thing is called 7 girls. These are all grown women right here. Calls them girls. Think about that.
Attraction for you. Period.
I don't think that applies to every single.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think that applies to
I don't
everybody
think that
either.
applies to every.
And it doesn't apply to every woman.
woman because with
That's why I say you have to find the woman for you.
my
level
ex-
at my
There
One
needs
mic,
to
one
be,
mic, one mic,
if I
one mic.
see
Hold on,
that
hold on,
side.
guys. You got to stop cutting each other off, man. And one mic at a time. Because the thing is, when the people are listening to the show, it's extremely annoying to have you guys talking over each other.
Really?
It's really bad radio. Okay, we're getting complaints in the chat. So one at a time. You had a point, and then you can go ahead. And then I think you had something too, right? Sure.
Yeah, with
Go
my
ahead.
ex, I'm like, for example, with my ex, like
March.
he always felt the need to like act hard or feel like he can't show emotion around me. You feel
Okay.
me? So
And this is what I was talking about: emotionally unavailable men.
When it came to like, okay, we were together for probably 2.5 years. So when it came to our relationship maturing, when he actually did take that step to show his emotions to me and talk to me about certain things, that actually made me more attracted to him, because I feel like if you can sit there and open up to me and actually take that step to feel like, okay, you know what, maybe it is easier for me to open up to my homeboys and talk to them about what I'm going through, but at the same time, this is who I'm choosing in this moment to spend my life with. This is who I'm spending
Are you
majority
still with him?
Listen to what she just said, bro. She just told you. He did it in front of her, and it made her feel more special that he was able to open himself up to her like that. And a lot of times we don't listen to. Look, I'm gonna tell you something. I do this. I did this with my. I still do this with my wife. It's hard for me to emote my emotions to my wife, all because I have been raised in the ilk of understanding things the way that this man has told you to.
Am I still with him? No.
Did you break up with him?
That's your ex, right?
Oh yeah, I broke up with him.
Okay,
cool.
Thank you for proving our point.
That did not prove the point. You never even asked her why you broke up, why they broke up. See, this is the leap in logic that I'm telling you. He's irrational. This is not rational. This is not rational at all. Bro, you just told this lady that the reason why she broke up with her boyfriend was simply because he emoted emotion to her. That had nothing to do with it. You didn't even ask her why it was that they broke up. That's wrong, bro.
I think women crave intimacy and vulnerability in men.
Yeah, you don't.
I think that's what women want in men a lot of the time is vulnerability and intimacy. And
See, listen to her. We did not break up over that at all. That's not why we broke up. But see, he thinks that he's right simply because they broke up. But that's a leap in logic. That's a jump in logic. That doesn't make any sense. You said, because you made your statement and you said what you said, you think you're the authority on what happened between them and their relationship, and that's not the case. What happened was whatever happened with them. But she's telling you that when he did emotion to her, that she felt closer to him because he did that. But then you jumped in and was like, oh, see, now you proved my point because y'all not even together. You didn't even ask her why they broke up. You just wanted to prove your point. And this is the red pill rage part of it. You're not trying to listen to nobody else but yourself, bruh. There's no balance in your logic. There's no balance in your thought process. Chill, bro. You mad at breakfast?
that men crying is them being vulnerable with us, and we think it's a good thing, but at the end of the day, it's not. Like,
it's not
right.
good at all.
It's not a good thing.
Again,
and I think I've been on for a good little while, so I'm gonna jump topics because I'm off this right now. Yeah, I've been on an hour and 42 minutes. I'm gonna jump topics real quick. But like I said, man, like I don't get it. I don't get it. He just jumping the gun with everything. He not really thinking about this stuff. He just talking, and then he want to talk about crosstalk. He want to talk about crosstalk, with this guest. But, and I think these guys are shell shocked now, cause they gotten to the point, cause they got this thing. I forgot. Frank Castle. That's what he call it. When he kicking people off the show, they've gotten so shell shocked and so they got that PTSD from dealing with women who are people who are unstable. Excuse me, apologize. They're so unstable that they shell shocked and they ready to attack everything. Like, bro, chill. You in your space. You should be comfortable in your space. That's why I like the Kevin Samuels show, because he's in his own space and he doing what he do. That's why I like MTR. He invites guests over, but he don't do this. It feels like a conversation. It doesn't feel like I'm the boss and this is what I do and blah 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 blah. It's not like that, man. It's just a chill, bro. Just chill. Golly, bruh. Sheesh. Bro, you need some coochie or something. You need a chill pill. I do not endorse premarital sex. But you need to chill, bro. So the next topic I want to get into, is what I want to talk about, has to do with Tyrese. And what Tyrese says, his reaction to this. And I'm trying to find it. Super chats continue. Trying to find where they were talking about when they was talking about this interview with Tyrese. Gilly the Kid. Oh, here you go. First video.
Or like some people didn't learn how to cook, and
Well,
that sucks.
life is unfair.
No, it is. Life is very unfair.
You
for
learn
sure.
eventually.
We got a
No,
video,
yeah, I'm just
video
saying,
to react
like,
to.
Not everyone has.
Check
the
it out,
same
ladies. So this one's with Tyrese here,
Like me.
giving his emotions. about-
Yep, this is him at on the Breakfast Club.
Yep.
And yeah, let's,
Giving his emotions.
Yeah,
I
and this one
wa- I
was brought in
watched
by a supporter, so thank you very much. You will be tagged below on the Instagram.
Let's get it.
But yes, please.
Fair use. Fair
Listen,
use.
I would say in general, don't let your pride and ego in this. He thirsty. I am thirsty. I want that. I need that.
Oh my gosh.
If I want that, I'm gonna go for it.
Facts.
If I see,
Yes, I am thirsty.
come on, live up to the Sprite can. Okay. Listen, if you
Bruh, fun.
want that, go get that.
Get it.
Don't let your husband walk by you because you got a job and you doing. I'm independent. I don't need you. I don't want you. I can do, but you can. Nobody. Don't independence your way into loneliness. Period. And it doesn't mean because you're alone, you're lonely. But there's a lot of women out here that become successful, start getting money, start doing a thing, and they use that as a weapon towards a man that may not have as much. That man may not have as much as you because you're successful,
fair
you're
use,
doing
fair
your
use.
thing, but nobody wants to be alone.
Fair
And
use.
stop tearing the men down. You can have a conversation with that man and he becomes the next successful entrepreneur. Everything on an ego level is just whack. Now that's right. That's how you fight to make love work. And I think right now, when it comes to pride and ego, that's the #1 relationship killer.
Woo!
Okay? I don't need you. I'm
Yes.
cool. I'm getting money out here. You getting money, but you miserable as
Miserable. That boy talking right now.
a mother. Okay?
Fair use, facts.
Woman,
Yeah.
you want to go home to a poodle and a rabbit in your drawer, helping you to go to sleep every night. You replacing a
Pause,
man with a
pause.
machine, a vibe.
Guys, once again on the show, quick commercial break. If you want to invest your money, buy cat food and dog food, you'll be rich. There you go.
Vibrator.
No, go ahead. We'll keep playing. Go ahead.
Stop playing, man.
There's a vibrator called a poodle.
The rabbit, you
A rabbit.
He said poodle
To
to
the dog. Going to a
Oh,
dog.
the dog. Okay.
The dog at the
okay.
front door like
Okay,
this.
got
He's
you,
like,
got
oh, I'm
you,
good
got
now.
you.
Come on, man.
I was like, damn.
All of you fellas out here,
I think we can start the video here, right?
We stop here, or do you want to keep going?
So I want to go into his
Trey?
reaction to this.
Yeah, keep
Found
going.
it
Okay,
very
cool.
interesting.
relationships ends sometimes. It's not always about cheating. Sometimes that woman is in a relationship and she's mentally and spiritually, emotionally bored because her man don't know how to intrigue her. So she's like running around desperate just to have a conversation. So my man ain't cheating, but if it's gonna stop me from being this bored, go get something else. Just come home and talk about it. Talk to me. It's all kind of reasons that relationships end. And you could find yourself saying, I'm ashamed of that. I'm ashamed that I was playing video games, wearing cartoon characters on my backpack, wearing peppermint socks, caught up in cars, money, and materialistic things, and my wife was at home suffering and I didn't even know it.
That's real.
You could leave your relationship and be ashamed of that.
Fair use.
So at the end of the
Fair
day,
use, fair use.
it's
Pause
all
it real
kind of,
quick.
and guess what?
Pause it real quick. A quick super chat from Phantasm D before he loses $50.
Ladies.
Stop asserting the truth. Asserting truth. There is truth, and there is my experience. Fact versus anecdotes and outliers. Learn the difference, and you will be more happy and successful in life. P.S. Stop using horoscopes for your horrible behavior.
Can I just say I know the
Sure, go ahead.
difference? I'm a writer, multiple words in English, especially. I speak 4 languages. This is my 3rd language. That's why I have a hard time speaking English because my 3rd language. I speak 4. Words have different meanings. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean. You understand me. Yes, I use the wrong word, but that doesn't mean my point. What I'm trying to get across is wrong. We are all on the same page. We all just want to be happy and have a good life, and for everyone to be okay, and for us to be okay. But we all don't understand each other because society, because we were raised, is all different. And in our minds, we are in totally different places. But deep in our hearts, I believe all people just want to be happy. and a lot
Okay.
of things are not letting us get to that.
Right.
But
No.
All right.
like
we'll keep-
I'm very educated. I've been in. I go to a really good school. Like I'm smart. Like I just have a hard time communicating because English is my third language. So excuse me.
All right. All right.
All right.
Moving
Let's
on.
put this out there. That every time a relationship ends, it's not always the man. There's plenty of women out here doing shit that they're ashamed
Absolutely.
of. I had nothing to do with them 10 relationships that you was in before we got in a relationship. You done brought all of them heartbreaks, insecurities, issues, mental, emotional, and physical abuse into this brand new relationship. Now I'm on the receiving end of all of the shit that them 10 dudes and did to you. So you should be ashamed of yourself.
There you go.
Don't put it on me.
Pause.
Did I
Okay.
ask you a
He
question?
answered my
Come on,
question.
man.
but you
That's
had-
end of the video right there.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, that's facts though.
Okay.
Imagine 10 dudes mess you up, and you gonna bring that energy to me? Nah,
Yeah.
fuck out of here.
So let's get the ladies' opinions on this. We'll start here.
Excuse
You've
the
been pretty
language.
quiet, so go ahead.
I feel like he was all over the
March.
place with like a bunch of different things,
Mhm.
but some of it was facts, obviously. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Some of it was facts, like if you're not bringing anything like emotionally, like we're emotional creatures, so like stimulate me. Even if you're going out and fucking someone else, tell me about it, like entertain me. But his like thirsty rant, I didn't understand. I kind of got, honestly, I did get lost in some of it. And what was the point that you just said?
So you're basically saying like, if a girl's had been like with like 10 guys, basically she has like a lot of baggage. So why are you bringing that to your next man?
Yeah, so I agree with that. It's like that's where I think emotional intelligence comes in. It's like you have to have your shit figured out before you enter a relationship. Like I'm not going to enter my next relationship with, oh, my ex-boyfriend cheated on me and this and that happened. Like no, like it's clean slate. Like I'm going in this with you and I'm not bringing that up. I'm not bringing that baggage. So I agree with that.
Cool.
I have a theory on that, but I'm gonna say it after the ladies give their opinions because I don't want to.
And that's one of the things I do want to talk about is what she just said. You know, and it's not just women that do this. Men bring in their emotional baggage too when they're coming from relationships. This is a human thing. And again, this is something that we don't talk about that is across the board. Men do the same thing. And I hate to say it like that, but bruh, come on, can we be reasonable about what we're talking about? Both men and women do this. And we can see that both men do this because you have a man talking about it and then you have a woman talking about it. But, you know, we, for some odd reason, want to skip over the fact that men have emotions too. And this is why we have to talk about men emotions and get people to understand men's emotions and how men are to be. Men shouldn't be acting like women act. They shouldn't display their emotions in the same way that women display their emotions in certain instances. Like if there's a building crashing, I shouldn't see a bunch of men screaming like the building is burning. Shouldn't hear that. Not coming from men. But at the same time, you know, men should be able to, you know, say what it is their piece is. And then on the flip side of that, going back to what we were talking about, is that men should be definitely seeing men should definitely not also be bringing in baggage from their last relationship. We act like men don't get their hearts broken. A lot of this red pill rage is from men with broken hearts. A lot of the situations that go on with men's mental health has to do with men in relationships. That's why this is a huge topic right now, because men in a relationship, because we've had the coronavirus to sit back and see these things for what they are. So yeah. And I'm gonna end this as soon as he gets his point, and I give my own take on that.
Influence anything. So go ahead. What's your take on that little rant from Tyrese?
I think I just want to say I think we all have baggage. I think we all have a lot to work on, and we all bring our trauma into our relationships with our friends, with our family, with our lovers, whatever.
Facts.
But I think that he communicated his point the best that he could, and some maybe we didn't all understand him, but I think he was pretty on point, and I get what he's saying. Yeah, I think everything that he said made a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what he said made a lot of sense. Mainly want to speak on the last part with bringing
Sure.
baggage. I think subconsciously we don't realize we bring a lot of baggage into our next relationship. I mean, I try not to, but you know, I don't think you realize subconsciously the things that you do. I mean, I go to therapy once a week. I just recently started going, and subconsciously you just don't realize you do all those things. Sometimes things just attach to you, and it's just you got to work on those things daily to, you know, heal from. So I mean, I think it's just
Sometimes
really
just
hard to not
forget.
bring on those things into your next relationship because you just have to work on it.
Sometimes it's hard
That's just
to
my
forget.
opinion. It's just healing every day and just working on not blaming the next person for what the last person did. And that's just my opinion.
That's real.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can
That's
I have
real.
a comment on the thirsty part? Because I totally got that. And like as a woman, women don't like do this.
Okay.
But me personally, if I see anything and I want, I'm gonna go get it. Whether it's an item or a person. If I think you're
approach
hot,
men?
I will go up to you. That's how I met this guy. I was a pro-Palestine protest. I was there alone. I was like, hey, I'm alone. Can I walk with you? And I thought he was hot, and I really think a guy's hot. So I saw a guy that was hot. I talked to him, and the rest is history. Because if you want
Okay.
something, you gotta try to get it, no matter what it is.
Did he smash on the first date?
Yeah, of course. It
Awesome.
was great. It was life changing.
Awesome. I respect that. I respect that.
I'm a very real person.
I think he started off really, really strong. He was very truthful and in his truth, or I think a lot of
Our flaws and all and everything else like that. But we don't tell men that. We tell men you need to make more money, you need to become successful, whatever, because there's consequences.
I really want to get to what he said in this clip, so I can finish this out.
When they are going out and getting the girl. So I liked that. And then I do agree people have baggage from other relationships, but that's like widely known. Everyone knows that if you've been in a relationship before, you're going to inevitably bring baggage to the next relationship, and you need to deal with that.
And this is why we
Cool.
need to watch who
Fair
we
enough.
have a relationship
I was
with
going to say
and
here
make
that,
sure they're going to be
and,
last
this
long.
might be a unpopular
long
opinion, but
lasting.
what I'm going to say, what I've noticed is there's open misandry all over. You know, you go on like TikTok or whatever, music, popular culture, whatever. It's okay for women to say men are trash all over the place. You know, it's actually very common. I hate men. Men are trash. Whatever. We've had women come on the podcast and say, "I fucking hate men. I hate them." You know, she was like a stripper.
Excuse the
and
language.
slash
Don't
OnlyFans
hate
girl.
men, hate the patriarchy.
Yeah.
It's not men, it's the patriarchy.
So anyway, I would argue that we're not in a patriarchy, but that's a whole other thing. The point I'm trying to make is that we live in a society that incentivizes women to bash men and bring that toxic background from their prior relationships and dump it on the next guy, because women are rarely held to a standard when it comes to relationships. Women are told, hey, the guy should accept you for how you are, flaws and all, and everything else like that. But we don't tell men that. We tell men you need to make more money, you need to become successful, whatever, because there's consequences for you as a guy if you're a loser. If you're a guy and you're fat and you're not attractive and you don't have your game on point, you smoke weed all day, you live with your mom's basement, girls aren't going to take you seriously. But if you put it the other way around as a woman, let's say a woman is fat, obnoxious, or crass, we have conventions out there to tell her, oh, you go, girl, love your curves. You know, you're strong and independent. They just can't handle you. That.
And I'll preface it with this. Even though he said what he said, and it is true that many women don't have, in the public eye, let's put it like this. In the public eye, a lot of women don't have the, don't get the support, right? Or the backlash on their bad behaviors. Even though in the public eye, that doesn't happen. Let's just look at it like this. In life, they lose. In life, they lose. They end up being somebody's baby mama. They end up being somebody's baby mama. They end up being never being married. They end up never having a successful relationship. There's a checks and balances here, and it's called life. You don't get chosen for the basketball team as the shortest man on the roster. You just don't. Nobody wants to pick the shortest guy to play basketball. That's why the short man has to work the hardest out of everybody else. Bugsy Mode. I mean, so if you're telling me that women don't, women are being told all of this stuff in the media. In the media, they're being told all of this stuff, but then you turn around and tell women they're gonna die alone. Who was really winning? If the men are able to get whatever women they want, a lot of them, and the women act however they act, and at the end of the day, their goals are never met, and they die alone. Who won? Men are out here accomplishing their goals. But if a woman's life goal is to be married and be somebody's wife, and to be somebody's wife and to have children inside of a marriage and build on that marriage in different ways, then at the end of the day, again, who won? The man or the woman? Man's still doing what he want to do. But the woman, on the other hand, has been stifled in her ability to be able to accomplish her life's work. Just think about it like that. This is why statistics are dangerous, because we can point them in one direction, but then when we don't like to look at it on the opposite end of that spectrum.
That man is small dick energy. He's insecure. So my thing is that we don't necessarily hold women to a burden of performance, and we tell them that they should be accepted as how they come, whereas men have to perform. And I say that's bullshit. Like, women should also have to perform, but we live in a society now where it's completely okay for women to just say men are trash, not knowing that the reality why the men that they're getting are trash is because they're fucking trash and they don't bring anything to the table. So that's my take on it, why so many women drag baggage into the other relationship. Men do it too, but what I would argue is that women are more incentivized to do it. And then on top of that, there's a lot of guys out here that want to save chicks that they shouldn't be saving. You know what I'm saying?
She don't want to be saved.
Save a hoe.
The vetting system works. You got to vet who you talking to, man. You got to vet all of them. And you got to take them through the ringer. Women will S-test you, S-test them back. You got to test people. You got to test them and see what they're going to do.
Don't say if
putting on the cape for girls that don't necessarily deserve it. So I don't know if you guys agree, disagree, points of contention. That's fine. Anything before we go to the next video?
And then you have to trust. You got to trust what it is that they say. Hold on. Because there's a point
Sorry,
in this
may I
video that I
please be
really wanted to
excused? I
see.
really cannot wait. I was trying to hold it, but I can't.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sure,
Thank
sure,
you.
sure.
I was gonna say,
yeah, go ahead.
I agree with the whole society thing, because like if you go on Instagram now, like there's the reels or whatever, it's like basically TikTok, Instagram, and it's like girls talking about toxic advice or this and that and do this, or
It's socially acceptable.
yeah, or YouTube channels that are like, oh, get ready with me for a dick appointment, and like all this shit that like if a guy was putting that up there, like
you get banned. We've done it
yeah,
6 times
yeah.
on TikTok.
You get banned a lot.
Yeah, and it's just and it's encouraging bad behavior, in my opinion. That's not
We've had girls come on the
everybody,
show,
but-
right? And they'll say, you guys are misogynistic, or you guys are misogynist. And I'll say, can you define misogyny? And they can't even define it. And then I'll say, well, actually, what you're saying, you're a misandrist. What does that mean? That's the hate of men. Oh, I didn't even know. Like, it's just that we're so quick to throw around the term misogyny and women hater, whatever it is, but we don't check women on the things, the disparaging thing they say, the things they say about men, because men aren't going to get up and rally and protest. Like, guys don't give a shit. They're like, whatever, these bitches are crazy. And they just go about their life. But, and I'm not saying that guys should, get pickets and complain, but it's just an observation of reality that it's okay to make negative comments about men in today's society. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you're censored if you say anything bad about women, but about men, it's okay. So
it's completely
that's what
acceptable.
it is, man.
So, did you have anything else you want to add to that, or?
And just the encouragement of like finessing and like doing all that stuff. It's just the whole like we're kind of trained, and like I remember when I was in college a couple years ago, like it was more low key. Where like you'd go to the bar, you'd finesse for a drink or whatever. But now it's like there's songs about it, and there's Instagram, and there's all these things where it's more normalized, and that's why less people are in relationships and getting married and whatnot.
Okay.
I
You,
think I
you had
just want to
something,
say
right?
I think it's really fucked up that that's happening to men. Like it is really wrong that people are doing so many things out of hate and
We just tell
like,
guys
that's
this is how
fucked
the
up.
world is. Just
Yeah, it
adapt
is.
to it. You know, we don't cry.
Exactly.
We just
deal with it.
accept reality and
Exactly, and
adapt.
do your best around it, of course.
You had something?
No,
Sure, go
I
ahead.
was gonna touch on two things.
Sure,
What
go
you
ahead.
said about like the reels and stuff, and like for example.
And I don't agree with that. I do not agree with men just accepting reality, because if men accept the moment men start to be comfortable with accepting things how they are, then that shows you how we got to where we are. Men have been comfortable with not saying no or allowing their no to go unheard. That's why we're in this mess that we're in now. Because most men have, and I'm gonna close out after I say this, because there's another thing he said. He said, and I couldn't find the clip, but he was like, you know, this is why, and this is literally right after Tyrese said what he said, and he was like, yeah, and I implore you to go watch the podcast, but he was saying, you know, men should be on their purpose. This is why I tell men to be on their purpose and da da da. I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense, bro. Tyrese was on his purpose. This man has #1 hits and all of this stuff and still going through these same type of situations. This has nothing to do with being on your purpose. It has nothing to do with your career. It has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with your economic status. It has nothing to do with any of that. It is all about human nature and what humans have created for themselves. That's exactly what this is about. And I don't understand why we keep putting ourselves in these situations where we keep feeling like everything is everything is not about human nature. And I'm talking about the totality of human nature and the totality of seeing one another as a human being. Our internet culture, and this is what they're talking about now, our internet culture has breeded this toxicity. It has breeded this toxicity. Again, this man's used so many statistics doing this thing, ain't back none of this stuff. Jumping loops logically. All of this stuff is uncalled for. But it's not just the women who are dealing with the toxic nature of media, of mass media. Almost every single person on this panel has grown up with TV right in front of their face. Tell lies vision. Almost every single one of them. I'm willing to bet their parents did not raise them. They put them in front of a TV and let the TV raise them. My parents did it to me. I'm pretty sure yours did to you. Even if you were able to go outside and play with your friends, when you came back at home, you ate, you watched TV, and that was about it. That's if you had the luxury of having a television. And I ain't that old, so televisions was everywhere when I grew up. We still played outside with our friends, but again, most of these people in this age group, with what it looks like, most of them have been raised in front of television. They watched the Sally Jesse Raphaels, the Maury Povich shows at young ages. And then they ended up being introduced to the internet. They were not socialized. None of these people were socialized with friends outside that were not socialized in the manner that we normally would socialize ourselves. Most of these kids nowadays don't even want to know who their neighbor is. They don't care. It's you do what you do, I do what I do. Leave me alone. Blah blah blah. I don't bother you. You don't bother me. That's how it go. And it's been like that forever. And I know that for a fact because we do it in the black community. That's an unspoken rule. You don't bother me, I don't bother you. So I know I went on a little tangent right there, but I'm getting tired, man, and I need to go to work in about 3 hours. So I appreciate anybody for watching. I appreciate anybody who's gonna watch the replay. Please, please, please go watch the podcast. Appreciate each and every last one of you. Love yourself. I mean, love your neighbor as yourself. Don't love yourself that much. But love your neighbor as yourself. And love God with all your heart. Peace and blessings.
I repent for being a hypocrite, a steady liar, presenting as a listener, but faith was quiet. Won't working how I said I was, cause all